Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into some seriously messed up stuff. We're talking about athletes whose lives took a dark turn, leading to murder cases that left the world in shock. Get ready for a wild ride. This is going to be insane. All right, let's kick things off with one of the most insane cases ever. O.J. Simpson, this dude was a legend, a football god, the juice. He had it all, fame, fortune, you name it. But behind that smile, something sinister was brewing. It was 1994 when his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman were found brutally murdered. The evidence pointed to O.J., and the trial that followed was like something out of a movie. The prosecution had what seemed like a slam-dunk case. DNA evidence, a history of domestic abuse, the whole shebang. But O.J.'s dream team of lawyers flipped the script. They played the race card, questioned the LAPD, and turned the whole thing upside down. And guess what? It worked. O.J. was acquitted. The jury found him not guilty. The world was shook. To this day, people are still debating whether he did it or not. Even though he walked free from the criminal trial, O.J. couldn't escape the court of public opinion. He was found liable in a civil suit, ordered to pay millions, and his reputation totally shattered. The O.J. Simpson case was a game-changer, exposing racial tensions, media power, and justice system flaws. Next up, we're heading to South Africa, where another sports hero faced murder charges. Oscar Pistorius, the Blade Runner, was a Paralympic icon. This dude ran on prosthetic legs and was faster than most able-bodied athletes. He was an inspiration to millions. But on Valentine's Day 2013, everything changed. Gunshots rang out from Pistorius' apartment, and his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, was found dead in the bathroom. Pistorius claimed he thought she was an intruder, that he fired those shots in fear. But the prosecution wasn't buying it. They painted a picture of a jealous and controlling boyfriend, a man with a hair-trigger temper and a love for guns. The trial was intense, with Pistorius breaking down on the stand, sobbing uncontrollably. Pistorius was found guilty of culpable homicide and sentenced to 5 years in prison. The prosecution appealed, and his conviction was upgraded to murder, leading to a 6-year sentence. The case divided South Africa and the world, raising questions about gun control, domestic violence, and the pressures of fame. Okay guys, this next one is seriously dark. We're talking about Hernandez, a tight end for the New England Patriots. This dude was on top of the world, playing in the Super Bowl, making millions, living the dream. But behind that success hid a troubled past and a darkness that would eventually consume him. In 2013, Hernandez's world came crashing down when he was arrested and charged with the murder of Odin Lloyd. The evidence against him was overwhelming. DNA, surveillance footage, even text messages. Hernandez was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While in prison, he was also charged with a double homicide from a drive-by shooting a few years earlier. This time, though, he was acquitted. Just days after his acquittal in the double homicide case, Hernandez took his own life in his prison cell. He was 27 years old. The Aaron Hernandez case sent shockwaves through the NFL and beyond. It raised questions about mental health, violence in sports, and the dark side of fame. Chapter 4, From NFL Star to Cult Killer, the Robert Rozier story. Get ready for this one, guys, because it's a wild ride. Robert Rozier, a former NFL player who went from the football field to, believe it or not, a black supremacist cult. He admitted to killing 7 people as part of this cult's reign of terror. Rozier's story is a twisted journey into the depths of extremism and violence. He was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 9th round of the 1979 NFL Draft. He got involved with a group called The Order, a white supremacist organization responsible for violent crimes. Rozier testified that he was brainwashed by the cult's leader, Bob Matthews, and ordered to commit murders as a test of loyalty. Rozier was eventually arrested and sentenced to 22 years in prison, but he only served 10 before being released into witness protection. His story is a dark reminder of the dangers of extremism and the power of cults to corrupt even the most promising individuals. Chapter 5, Wrongfully Convicted, the Rubin Hurricane Carter Saga. This next story is one of resilience, guys, but also a stark reminder of the flaws in our justice system. Rubin Hurricane. Carter, a professional boxer, became a symbol of racial injustice when he was wrongfully convicted of a triple murder. It was back in 1966 when 3 white people were gunned down in a bar in New Jersey. Carter and his friend, John Artis, were arrested and charged with the crime. Despite the lack of solid evidence, Carter and Artis were convicted by an all-white jury. Finally, in 1985, after years of appeals and legal battles, Carter's conviction was overturned. Chapter 6, From Skateboard Hero to Convicted Killer, The Fall of Mark Rogowski. Hold on tight, guys, because this next one is a roller coaster of emotions. Mark Gator Rogowski, a professional skateboarder who was once on top of the world, threw it all away in a fit of rage and jealousy. Rogowski was a legend in the skateboarding world in the late 80s and early 90s. He became fixated on Jessica Bergston, a young woman he had briefly dated. In 1991, he lured Bergston to his apartment, where he raped and murdered her in a brutal and senseless act of violence. Rogowski was arrested and charged with murder. He was sentenced to 31 years to life in prison, where he remains to this day. Rogowski's story is a tragic reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be battling inner demons. Chapter 7. A pregnant girlfriend and a cold-blooded plan. The Ray Carruth case. This next story is just heartbreaking, guys. Ray Carruth, a wide receiver in the NFL, went from star athlete to convicted conspirator in a horrifying murder plot. Carruth was playing for the Carolina Panthers when he got involved with Cherika Adams. She got pregnant, but Carruth, fearing for his career and financial future, decided he didn't want to be a father. He hired a hitman to get rid of Adams and his unborn child. The hitman carried out the plan, shooting Adams multiple times while she was driving. Miraculously, she survived long enough to give birth to their son, Chancellor, but tragically succumbed to her injuries weeks later. Carruth was found guilty and sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison. His actions cost him everything: his career, his freedom, and most importantly, his son's mother. Chapter 8. A goalkeeper's gruesome crime. The Bruno Fernandes case. Get ready for a chilling tale from the world of Brazilian soccer, guys. Bruno Fernandes de Souza, once a rising star goalkeeper, threw it all away in a crime fueled by jealousy and rage. Fernandes was at the top of his game, captain of the popular Flamengo team, when he got involved with Elisa Samudio, a young model. Their relationship was tumultuous, filled with arguments and accusations. When Samudio became pregnant, things took a dark turn. Fernandes, already married and fearing for his reputation and career, wanted nothing to do with Samudio or their child. He pressured her to have an abortion, but she refused. Fernandes hired a group of men to kidnap Samudio. They held her captive, torturing and eventually murdering her in a gruesome and calculated manner. Fernandes was found guilty and sentenced to 22 years in prison. His fall from grace was swift and brutal, a stark reminder that even the most celebrated athletes can harbor dark secrets. Chapter 9. A tragic murder-suicide. The Jovan Belcher story. This next story, guys, is one of the most tragic and senseless acts of violence you'll ever hear. Jovan Belcher, a linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, took the life of his girlfriend and then his own in a shocking murder-suicide that left the NFL reeling. Belcher and his girlfriend, Cassandra Perkins, had a history of domestic disputes. On that fateful December morning in 2012, another argument erupted, escalating with terrifying speed. Belcher, in a fit of rage, pulled out a gun and shot Perkins multiple times, killing her in front of his own mother. Then, in a horrifying turn of events, he drove to the Chiefs' practice facility and took his own life. The murder-suicide sent shockwaves through the NFL and beyond, raising questions about domestic violence, mental health, and the pressures of professional sports. Chapter 10. Behind Bars, the Lawrence Phillips tragedy. This final story, guys, is a tragic tale of a life spiraling out of control. Lawrence Phillips, a former NFL running back with incredible talent, was plagued by off-field issues that ultimately led to his downfall and a shocking murder behind bars. Phillips was a star player at the University of Nebraska, known for his explosive runs and powerful physique. He was drafted by the St. Louis Rams in 1996, but his NFL career was marred by legal troubles and accusations of violence against women. In 2005, he was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon and domestic violence and sentenced to 10 years in prison. While serving his sentence, Phillips was accused of murdering his cellmate. In 2016, before he could stand trial for the murder charge, Phillips was found dead in his cell, an apparent suicide. Wow, guys, we just went through some seriously heavy stuff. These stories are a stark reminder that behind the glitz and glamour, the world of sports can be a dark and unforgiving place. These athletes, once celebrated for their talents and achievements, became entangled in tragedies that shocked the world. If you found this video as gripping and thought-provoking as I did, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more deep dives into the world of sports and beyond. Stay safe out there, and remember, there's always more to the story than meets the eye.